This is VSiN At The Track. Now here's your hosts, Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back in here. VSiN At The Track. Special 4th of July edition here. Happy 4th of July, Aaron. It is July 3rd. And on Thursday, we've got the massive Stars and Stripes Festival coming up over at Saratoga. Can't wait to talk about that. We'll talk about some of the graded stakes racing over the weekend. We've got the first Middle American Derby this weekend as well, with the Indiana Derby going on over at Indianapolis Grand. How's your 4th going, man? How's everything going?
It's going awesome, and the big reason why it's going awesome is Saratoga is back. You know, usually we get this at Belmont when it's open, or Belmont at the Big A, talking about the Stars and Stripes Festival. We get it at Saratoga this year, Somich. I love it, man. I've been watching like crazy, just like you have. So, as we're doing this live, they're on the 3rd or 4th race here of the kind of early opening of the meet. But yeah, great racing coming up, a lot to cover, and a lot to cover at Saratoga, which is always kind of good for you and I both.
Yeah, whether or not you're joining us here on YouTube at VSiN Live on Thursday, 2:15 Eastern, 11:15 Pacific, or you're catching us over wherever you find your favorite podcast, be that on Apple, Spotify, or wherever it is. Thank you very much for making VSiN At The Track part of your holiday weekend here. And Aaron, we've got a loaded show. We're going to talk about some of these race previews that are coming up, but we've also got a lot of information around superstars and what they're going to be doing next year. We've got Verifire, who's been talking about what the next step is going to be. Mindframe and Sierra Leone, who battled last week in the Stephen Foster, both talking about their next spots, as well as Thorpedo Anna talking about the Breeders' Cup Classic, something I got made fun of 2 weeks ago on this show. We'll get to that. But we've got to start out here. The legend, Dwayne Lukas, the coach, passes at age 89. He was your Preakness winning trainer last year at 88, oldest trainer to be able to win a Triple Crown race, 20 Breeders' Cup races, 15 Triple Crown races, Hall of Fame for both the quarter horse racing side as well as the thoroughbred side, and an all-around awesome dude. I am going to be bummed when I go up to Saratoga and not see Dwayne Lukas there, because he was always just very inviting, very friendly with fans, with reporters, with whoever, and a wonderful just talisman for the sport. So it's going to be a bummer not to see him up at Saratoga this year, Aaron.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. My dad and I were talking about that earlier this week. It's like, it'll really hit you when you go to the track and the normal places where Dwayne Lukas was sitting, he's not going to be there. It already has kind of hit me when you look at the entries and he's not there. Like Saratoga on big days, Dwayne Lukas would have a horse somewhere on the card. You're just not going to see that name anymore. So an absolute legend. We gave a few stories last week, when we were talking about him. We kind of knew this was coming. We didn't speculate on any health, related situations last week, which, was the right thing to do out of respect to him. But you knew it was coming. You knew it was just a matter of time. It is just extremely sad. But yeah, an absolute legend. He changed the game of horse racing in so many different ways, and going to be missed for sure. So yeah, just a huge loss, right? Just a huge loss, not only for horse racing in general, as far as the horses and the training, but for horse racing fans. He was so good to them. You could go up and talk to him about anything, and he'd sit there and talk to you about it and try to, whether it just be give you advice or just help you out with a question you had, or just sit there and BS with you. That was the other thing. He was a very funny guy. You could sit there and joke around with him as well. So it's a great loss. I know specifically Oaklawn Park, Churchill Downs, and Saratoga. That's the 3 main places he was at, his last 10, 15 years of his career. Just great losses that you're not going to see that guy at the track anymore.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers to the Lukas family, all his friends, his horses, obviously. He always loved to run them, Aaron. He was one of those trainers that was still old school and would run back those horses every 3-4 weeks. Hopefully we'll get to see a couple of them in the winner's circle at Saratoga. Can't wait to see what horse racing has planned from a tribute perspective as well. Let's shift over to the horse side, because we did get to see a lot of the stars come out last weekend prepping for Saratoga, which you're going to see is a common thread on where these horses are going to go next. We'll start out with Thorpedo Anna, last year's horse of the year. She won the Distaff last year. She came back and she won in the Fleur-de-Lis. She won the race. Was she great? I'm not sure. Like, it was one of those races where you kind of expected her to win, but the interesting part about coming out of this race, Kenny McPeak gets asked specifically, we're going to see you run against the boys at Saratoga. And he flat out said, no, we're going to stay in these older filly and mare races at Saratoga where her next starts will be. But if she does her thing, the Classic could be in the cards for us. So, Aaron, what are your thoughts on the Thorpedo Anna race? And is it something where you're willing to start speculating about the Classic and her taking on the boys?
Look, I thought it was a very good race compared to the one before where she just didn't do much running, right? So I did think, hey, she got kind of back to where she needs to be. She's back to where she's kind of the head of her own division. And look, I don't want to talk down about Thorpedo Anna too much because she is the reigning horse of the year. She is 3 for 4 this year. You know, she's won a grade 1 earlier in the year as well. But I don't know, Samich, and maybe you'll disagree with me, and maybe there'll be a debate, but she doesn't quite look as sharp this year as she did last year, in my opinion. She's doing it, she's winning, but it doesn't look quite as easy as it was last year when she was winning those races by 4 and 5 lengths against the other fillies. And it was just like, wow, she could have won that race by 100. You know, that's how you kind of felt last year after some of these races. And that's when she faced the boys. I was just saying there's more there. She's going to be able to do it. And she ran a very good race when she faced the boys. This year, I kind of look at her and go, yeah, she's fine. Like that was fine. You know, the Fleur de Lis win, it was good. But I don't know that there's that next level to her this year where she's going to be able to take on the boys and be successful or at least run really, really well. So, again, I don't want to talk down on her because she did what she was supposed to do. It was a race she was supposed to win easy, and she did. I don't know, Samich, and what's your opinion on this? Is there more to her this year, or has she kind of lost a little bit of a step?
I think people forget because we don't see 4-year-olds come back and run nearly at the same consistency that we see these 3-year-olds go out on the track. I think people forget that this is a progression. This takes time to build up to the best possible effort. And last year, when you started caring about Thorpedo Anna, was when she was in her top form, her best form, when she was rolling in the Kentucky Oaks. That's when everyone really found out, okay, Thorpedo Anna, she's a monster. And she kept that level through the end of the year. I don't think she's even close to at the same conditioning level that she was for the Kentucky Oaks at this point. We saw her get better in this race. McPeak said after the race, she wasn't even 80% cranked for this one. I think that everyone just expects her to run back to the Oaks. And that Oaks was a race that Kenny McPeak planned for 6 months to get her at that form and that level of a horse. We don't know what that race is this year. We don't know if it's this is CCA Oaks at Saratoga. We don't know if it's, one of these other races or if it's the Breeders' Cup that he is ultimately trying to get the best possible effort out of her. And I think people forget it took time to get to her being that good last year. It's going to take time for her to get being good this year as well. I don't want to completely dismiss the idea that, look, she was a neck, a nose behind who I thought Fierceness was the best 3-year-old male in the country last year, the majority of the year. Why can't she get back to that point once she has actually been able to race up into form? And people just forget about that way too often in my mind, that the whole time McPeak was pointing toward the Oaks. We don't know where he's pointing toward this year, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think how I would kind of counter that with, it's just even those races, like the race leading up to the Oaks and then a couple of races after the Kentucky Oaks, she just seemed to have this effortless kind of stride to her, for lack of a better, term. I mean, everything came so easy. This year just doesn't feel that way. Now, maybe the competition as she's now older is a little bit better, and maybe that's why it is a little bit, but I don't know. I just am a little skeptical. I will say this. I think the debate that we're having is going to we'll get a better answer in her next start up at Saratoga. When she runs in the personal instant up at Saratoga, that's going to be her next race. I think we'll then have a better clue, because if he's building her up towards the Breeders' Cup Classic, which is very possible. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. He mentioned it, so it's very possible. You're going to have to start see her running just a little bit better. You can't just kind of run average races and then go pop and win the Breeders' Cup Classic, right? When she tried the Travers last year, like you said, against Fierceness, she was getting better and better and better, and then boom, popped that huge race. So I think the next race at Saratoga is very pivotal, not only for, okay, can she win it or not, but where do we go after? Because, look, at some point, you're going to have to look like a horse that you watch the race visually and go, yeah, she can go win the Classic. We haven't seen that yet. Maybe the next race we do see it.
Just keep doubting. Just happy I have her in the draft because at least McPeak's mentioning the classic now. And speaking of classic horses, last year's winner, Sierra Leone, back on the racetrack at Churchill Downs over the weekend, gets handled by Mindframe, who finally seems to have figured out the correct Mindframe to be running these races in after losing the Haskell, losing the Belmont because of just mental issues, blowing turns, going wide, not running straight. Now 2 for 2 this year for Mindframe. Is he the best older male in the country right now?
I think right now you have to rank him number one. And the reason I say that, I thought in the Stephen Foster, Sierra Leone fired a good enough race to win. I thought he ran pretty well. He kind of got back into form. And honestly, when the big question came, okay, here comes Sierra Leone, Mindframe's in front of him, but it's close. Mindframe was able to keep his mind on business and gallop away from him again. And that was the big key. I think Mindframe turned the corner with a big chance to win. Sierra Leone turned the corner with a big chance to win. And I think if we would have gotten a little bit of the antics of the old Mindframe, I think Sierra Leone would have beat him, but we didn't. We saw a focused horse. So I was super impressed with both Mindframe and Sierra Leone coming out of that race. But obviously Mindframe more impressive. He won the race. And like I said, about mid-stretch, you're like, wait a second, he's going to run on. He's looking good. He's checking all those boxes that you wanted him to check. Mindframe was able to do it in that race. And we talked about it last week and why I've got him ranked number one right now. If not for his just antics in the stretch, he would be undefeated. He would have won the Belmont and he would have won the Haskell. And then you're looking at an undefeated horse. Now you're telling me that he's going to behave himself. He's going to do things the right way. He's got his mind on business. Well, I think he's going to be awfully tough to beat. So he proved a lot in the Stephen Foster. We knew he had talent. We said last week, you picked Mindframe, I picked Sierra Leone, but we both said it's a 2-horse race between these two. And it was, and Mindframe showed why he's the better horse to bet on because he did keep his mind on business. And look, the bottom line is he's a horse that can get a great trip most times because he doesn't have to have the lead, but he doesn't get too far back. He can track those leaders. He'll turn for home with the lead a lot of times. And if he runs straight, he's going to be really tough to catch.
On that note, too, I thought Sierra Leone was actually closer to the pace now in back-to-back races here in his 4-year-old season than what we saw during the 3-year-old season. I wonder if that takes a little bit of the kick out down the lane because he did not have that same closing stride that we saw to be able to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, to be able to run second in the Kentucky Derby. Now, it's been small fields in both of the races that he's running. We saw a horse go gate to wire down in Fairgrounds to beat him. We saw Mindframe be forwardly placed in a smaller field. I'm wondering if these fields get bigger, if you're going to see that Sierra Leone style coming from way back again, or if if the last 2 races, Chad Brown and company have been a little worried that we're not going to get the pace to be able to run into. We can't be too far off the lead. And that actually takes away from Sierra Leone's top side, his ceiling, because he's not in his game. He's kind of running someone else's style versus his best racing style.
Sierra Leone has 2 huge problems. One, he is completely one-dimensional. And 2, we are in an era of racing where in these big races, there's usually 5, 6, 7 horses. And you laid it out perfect. I kind of think when they're in these shorter fields, they just think what you just said. We can't be 10 lengths back. We just can't. Get him closer. Hopefully it works out. And look what happened last year. He's in all these short fields and he couldn't win. And then he got in a regular size field, the Breeders' Cup Classic, and he won. So he is forever going to be a very annoying horse because he is just annoying as a running style. A dead closer on the dirt in the United States, it just doesn't work out that well, long term. It just doesn't. And that's why you see he's a damn good horse, but he has trouble winning races because of his running style, and that's just not going to change.
Yeah, both Mindframe and Sierra Leone pointing towards Saratoga. I'd be surprised if we didn't see both in the Whitney later this year. We'll see if there's a bigger field there. I do think we're going to have a bigger one than what we saw in the Stephen Foster. That should help Sierra Leone, who another horse where, much like Thorpedo Anna, is going to get better as the year goes along. We saw that last year from Sierra Leone. It's a big horse. He needs to run into shape. I think we're going to see the best of him a little bit later this year. Verifire, I want to mention very quickly, she's undefeated. She's planning on being either at Saratoga or Delaware next for Brad Cox and those connections. Any quick thoughts here on Verifire and what her path is going to look like?
Yeah, look, I think this is an up-and-comer, going to get thrown into the deep end of the pool in Saratoga next, but this was a really nice stepping stone. So just keep an eye on this horse. Brad Cox has kind of treated this horse like one that's going to be kind of a future star right from the beginning, picked some really nice spots. So, look, this is a situation where we still have a lot of improving to do, but you feel like the horse has room to improve. You feel like even though the horse just keeps winning, we haven't seen the absolute best. So just keep an eye out. I think this is an up and coming one. Don't take just a real short price if you see this horse in a big time stakes race next. Just keep in mind, we do have to see improvement, but this is an up and comer. You better keep an eye out.
All right, let's jump right into Saratoga. We've got a monster weekend here with the Stars and Stripes Festival, normally at Belmont, but because of the renovations, we're going to be doing it over at Saratoga, and that means all of the stakes races that we generally see on Stars and Stripes Celebration is going to be run on Friday, on Saturday here at Saratoga, and we're going to kick it off here with the Suburban, 1.25 miles over Saratoga's main track on the dirt. This is race number 10 on Friday's card on the 4th of July. Really interesting race here. You're going to see Locked as your 8-5 favorite. The number 4 horse, second choice in here, is going to be on the outside. Number 8, Awesome Aaron. The third choice, number 7, Antiquarian. I'm interested to see who actually goes favored postward. I do think it's going to be, at least most likely, going to be Locked. I want to see how much money Antiquarian gets, because he would have won at Churchill if he had not blown the turn. It was the first time he really stretched out and took on company like that. Where are you going on top in this spot?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're going to go back to our boy, I think, Samich. At least I am. I'm going to go back to our boy, number 7, Antiquarian. I'm going to give him one more shot in this one. I get it. Like, if you bet him in the blame last time out and you saw him blow the turn and finish second, you're like, forget it. I'm not doing that. But, I've heard through the grapevine he got very distracted at the top of the stretch. There was like an ambulance sitting kind of at the top of the stretch over to the side, and he ran to that ambulance, which if you're listening, you might go, that sounds crazy. That does happen sometimes. So I'm going to go back to Antiquarian, the 7 horse. I think he's going to sit a really nice trip in here as well. So look, I'm not going to go off of him. He's 4-1. I think he makes sense in this spot. I will say this, I'm also worried about his stablemate number 4, Locked, but I'm just hoping Antiquarian gets a little bit better trip. Locked gets a little bit too far behind. Antiquarian can cut the corner and get the job done. So give me the number 7 Antiquarian on top in this one. I've been waiting for him to run back. I feel like, just like kind of like Mindframe we talked about last, if he kind of runs straight and stops the antics, I think he's super talented. So give me Antiquarian in this spot.
Yeah, when you look at the prices, and I agree with you. I think it's the 4 and the 7 who should be your 2 most likely winners in this spot. Locked is sitting at 8-5, Antiquarian sitting at 4-1. I would rather take the 4-1 all day, every day. And I think the pace is important. The setup is important in this one as well, Aaron. Number 1, Phileas Fogg, 100% going to send. That's all this horse does. Goes right to the lead, tries to take you as long as possible. The number 8, Awesome Aaron, your namesake out there, probably going to go to the front too. And so the idea here is, can Antiquarian sit behind those two and then make a run around the far turn and get the best of the trip versus Locked, who's going to be coming from further off the pace. So I agree with you. Give me the 7 Antiquarian 4-1 here. I do think Locked has a big shot at running a big race. I'll have a 7-4 exacta, a little bit of 4-7 as well the other way. The number 2, Disarm. This is one of those that was thought of very highly in the Steve Asmussen barn last year. You're getting 8-1. Any interest in these horses that are coming back off of last year's Triple Crown, like Anna Marie, like Disarm, or is this just one of those situations where it feels like the cream has already risen to the top and you're not going to see a longer shot win this race?
I just can't do it with Disarm. I've totally given up on him. I mean, he's had so many chances, Samich. That's the thing. And I was kind of like, yeah, Disarm, look out. He's going to be pretty good. And he just has had way too many chances. I'm done with him. I will say my namesake, the number 8, Awesome Aaron, he was very much average Aaron for a long time, right? Just like me. He was he was just average, right? He was hitting the board. He wasn't very good. The last 2 races, I don't know what's happened to this horse. He's woke up in a big time way. Now, look, one, it was just an allowance race 2 races back. The Pimlico Special last time out, obviously it was a decent race, but not a race of this magnitude. Maybe he can't run with these types of horses, but he's definitely gotten better. So you might look at him. However, though, he's not really a long shot. So I couldn't really say that he's a long shot that I like because, he's 7-2. Maybe the one horse Phileas Fogg at 5-1. Maybe he was second to Awesome Aaron last time out. I do think he's going to try to set the pace, take him gate to wire. But really, I don't see a lot of long shots making a huge impact. I think it's a big race between the 4 and the 7 in this spot.
Yeah, if it rains, which it's not supposed to, but if for some reason it does in upstate New York, Phileas Fogg becomes much more dangerous. We've seen him go gate to wire on Whitney Day last year. He's just one of those horses, when he gets out front, especially in the slop, he just likes to keep cruising over it. So Phileas Fogg is dangerous there. If you see any water in the track, he's going to try and take him gate to wire. And I agree with you. Awesome Aaron was average Aaron for a long time. This is a measuring stick for Awesome Aaron. If he wins, then all of a sudden it really launches him up into the better older horses here. Number 7, Antiquarian for me. Number 7, Antiquarian for Aaron. That was the Suburban race number 10 from Saratoga on Friday. Let's go one race forward here. Talk about the Belmont Derby, grade 1 mile and an eighth over the turf course for 3-year-old colts as well. This is a really interesting race, especially considering we have multiple 3-year-old turf races. We'll talk about Zulu Kingdom. Kind of surprised he's not here and in a different race, but hey, c'est la vie. What can you do? Your favorite in this spot is going to be the number 4 New Century, coming in from, I guess, overseas, sort of. This horse ran in Europe, came over, won the grade 1 summer up at Woodbine, went back to Europe, and now he's come back to the U.S. and switched barns into the Brennan Walsh barn. So he's going to trade him moving forward. Last time out, lost by a nose to Test Score, who is 4-1 in this spot. Final Gambit is 5-2 as well for Brad Cox here. Interesting race, Aaron. Where are you going on top, and why is it not going to be Final Gambit?
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be Final Gambit. I'll answer that question first. I just can't. I mean, this horse is going to get overbet, and I just can't do it. I don't think he's that good. Yeah, and people are going to freak out when I say that, because for some reason, they love this horse. I don't know. I think it's got to be a pace meltdown for the 6 Final Gambit to get it done. He's so far behind in all his races. Now, that will play better on the turf like it did on the synthetic, so maybe that'll help, but I can't do him. This race is tough. I think it could go a lot of different ways. I did go with the number 4 New Century on top in this spot. I don't love it, but the more I looked at this horse, I thought, you know what? I do think, even though we haven't seen him win since September of last year, it just feels like this is the most likely winner for me. I mentioned September 14th of last year, he won a grade 1 race as a 2-year-old up at Woodbine this summer. He went to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. He finished 4th, only beaten 2 lengths. That was a pretty darn good effort that day. I went back and watched it. He was pretty good. Then they took this horse to Newmarket to start the year. That's overseas, a really tough race. He didn't run all that poorly. Then just like 2-3 weeks later, he shows up in the American turf here in the United States on Kentucky Derby Day. That was a very tough field. He got way too far behind in that race. He is a horse that comes from out of it, but not that far out of it. He ran very well to get 3rd. I just kind of look at it and say, look, the first race of this season, draw a line through it. Really tough ass, the second race, to come back that quickly and run. He ran well. I think this is the first race of the season that really makes sense to him. I think it's the first race of the season where he's got proper time in between his races. I think this is the time for number 4 New Century. I think if he's going to win one, I think right here is a great spot. So I put the 4 on top, Samich. Like I said, I'm not overly confident, but the more I watched replays and the more I really thought about this, I was like, yeah, you know what? I think this is the one to beat. So give me the 4 New Century on top.
It's a fascinating race from a handicapping perspective. The number 8 Flying Mohawk, just by the way, is going to be scratched, so will not be in the race. They're going to have 7 horses head postward here, and I agree with you. New Century has the most class in this field. The 3-1 price is a little bit of a struggle for me. I am never betting Final Gambit. You mentioned it. Like, this horse is way over bet. The reason this horse is 5-2 is because he ran 4th in the Kentucky Derby. Racing a 1.25 miles on the dirt. We're going 1.8 miles on the grass. We have no clue how good Final Gambit is going to be in this specific scenario, because we've never seen Final Gambit run 1.8 miles on the grass before. Absolutely no interest in playing this horse as the favorite. Give me the number 3 horse, Luther here. 6-1 on the morning line. The European Invader. We've got the jockey coming over, which is always a tip. When you see the jockey come over with some of these horses, it means that they're ready to run. But I talk about this all the time. There are certain horses that just want a firmer ground. And in Europe, you rarely get firm turf going. This horse has run once on firm ground. It was in a Group 1 where he ran 4th behind some of the best 3-year-old turfers in Europe. That's the only time he's ever touched a firm turf course. I think he takes to this American-style turf course. I think that's why they're pointing him to America, is because he does run better with a firm course. Number 3, Luther, 6-1 for me. I actually like this one quite a bit. He only missed by New Century to a nose last year when New Century was in better form than he was. He is now in better form than New Century. I think Luther, awesome price here at 6-1. And don't ignore Tank, who is not the most talented horse in the field, but 100% the only speed in the field, Aaron. He has got a shot of taking this field gate to wire if they crawl up front.
I really like to pick a Luther. He's one that, here's the deal. A lot of times when these European runners come over, they're for big time trainers that you get excited about, right? Like, Aiden O'Brien, Charlie Appleby, stuff like that. So I think the horse is 6-1 because the trainer is Fellows, and it's just like, I don't know a whole lot about him, but yeah, this horse makes sense, and everything he said makes sense. European turf horses, when they come to the United States, they usually fare very well. So, and again, if you get 6-1 or close to it, I think that's great. I'm glad you mentioned Tank. I will mention that as well for just a second, and just kind of, shouldn't say mention, but just echo what you said. There's no other speed in this race past the
Not
wall.
a lick of it.
And he's drawn the rail. I mean, he's going to probably be 4 or 5 lengths ahead. The problem is he's coming out of races, they're not that good, right? You get a stakes race at Tampa for state breds. This horse is bred in Florida. And then two races at Gulfstream Park that really aren't that good. These are totally different animals he's up against, like literally. But I mean, no exaggeration, I think if he's just kind of average in this race, he'll be 4 or 5 lengths ahead, don't you?
Yes, and that's the scary part. Everyone else wants to close. You've got Luis Saez, you've got the rail, Carlos David. This horse is 100% going to be in the lead. If you're playing pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 6s, you've got to include the one Tank. I'm telling you right now, you better include this horse. In tournaments, this horse is going to be used left, right, and center because it is just screaming lone speed. Now, has never raced against this class, has never gone 1 1/8. Like, there are a ton of question marks. But speed is deadly in horse racing, especially when it's lone speed, especially on the Saratoga turf, which often carries that speed when it is firm. I like Luther a lot. I'm scared of Tank, who is by far the inferior horse, but is going to be loose up front. So I will have some 1-3 exactas. I will be playing Tank in tournaments. I will be trying to find ways to use the one as well, because I do think speed is 100% relevant. And if you're looking to bet these races or any other races, make sure you check out the G-Bank Trifecta right now. We are going to have the $500 Jeep Trifecta from G-Bank, First Bet, and VSiN. All you need to do is open a G-Bank Visa Signature credit card in the first 90 days. Great time to do this. Deposit and play through $1,000 over at First Bet to trigger the $500 Trifecta. First, you'll receive $200 cash back on your G-Bank Visa Signature credit card. First Bet will give you a $100 match deposit bonus. And VSiN will complete the trifecta with a free VSiN Pro subscription through August 31st, 2026, a $200 value. That's $500 trifecta from G-Bank, First Bet, and VSiN. Head over to VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSIN.com/GBank. This is a one-time promotion and is limited to customers opening a new account in response to this offer and will not apply to requests to convert existing accounts. Make sure you check out the terms and conditions and make sure you apply today over at VSiN.com/GBank. All right, Aaron, let's head over to Saturday at Saratoga. Race number 11, the Belmont Oaks Invitational, going 1 1/8 over the Mellon Turf course there. Another phenomenal race, another very difficult race, but your favorite's going to be Nitrogen here, the number 7 horse, 4-5. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're going to pick Nitrogen because we both loved Lush Lips last week because she ran second to Nitrogen. So how are we going to make money off this race if we both like Nitrogen sitting there at 4-5 on top?
Well, there's one horse that's beaten Nitrogen in this race, and it is the number 6 Mayday Ready. And that is a horse that has finished ahead of Nitrogen. It happened in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. So I'm going to go a straight exact to 7-6, and I'm just going to say, okay, I don't think Mayday Ready's beating Nitrogen again. I'm just going to be honest with you there. But, yeah, I think, look, you go through this field, Nitrogen has destroyed most of this field already, right? So it's like, okay, hard to pick those horses unless you just don't think Nitrogen's going to fire or you just want to take a shot in the dark. So you do just look at it and go, okay, the 6 Mayday Ready, pretty decent horse. Like I said, did finish ahead of her. And then the 2 races after the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, this was a horse that went overseas and tried a race, and it didn't go well. and then came back and ran in the off the turf Wonder Again, a race that this horse is just not bred for the dirt. So really draw a line through the 2 races, right? The last 2 races, she's going to show up with her best effort here. I don't think she can beat Nitrogen. So just a 7-6 straight exacta. It's hard to go against the favorite when you look at all these other horses and go, yeah, no, she's way better than them, right? And so that's where you're at with this race.
Yes, she is way better than them. And that is the struggle with it. There's a reason Nitrogen 4-5 on the board here. I like Nitrogen on top. I agree with you, but I do think it gets a little more interesting underneath. You mentioned Mayday Ready, one of my favorite horses. Look, this horse went on a 3-race win streak last year before running second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. I don't think she was necessarily the best horse in 2 of those 3 races that she won during that 3-race winning streak, but she just had a nose for the wire and was able to come from the clouds and be able to get the job done. I do think this race sets up well for her. If you look through the like we talked about the previous turf race, No Speed, you've got some speed in here. The number 2, Opulent Restraint, going to want to be forwardly placed, Totally Justified, wants to be forwardly placed. I do think you have a chance to have a little bit better of a pace. Nitrogen probably going to sit right behind it. But, man, it's hard for me to want to put Mayday Ready, considering what I think the trip she's going to get into that second spot. I'm a little interested in the 2, Opulent Restraint. I don't like Joel Rosario. I don't like betting Joel Rosario. But we've seen Chad Brown in these races with his other horse, and he's got Virgin Colada in here, Ryred Ortiz, 8-1. The other Brown is going to be Opulent Restraint, sitting there at 10-1. The 2 gets the lead, right? Like the 2 is the Chad Brown horse who gets to the front, and those are often horses that become very, very dangerous in these stakes race days, specifically at Saratoga. So I'm going to go 7-2, and then I like the 5 and the 6 for 3rd place. I think those are the 2 horses that if I'm trying to round out trifectas, round out superfectas, those are the other 2 I'm interested in. I agree with you around Mayday Ready. Flown, another interesting horse sitting there at 5-1 that has run well behind Nitrogen before. Ran behind Vixen and Nitrogen 2 back, beat Totally Justified last time out at Churchill Downs, going to, in the regret there, going 1 1/8. So I do think Fiona is an interesting horse at the price there of 5-1 as well. But Nitrogen on top for me. I'm gonna go 7-2 and then play the 5 and the 6 in the 3rd spot for the try. Do you have any interest in Opulent Restraint, or you're just focusing here away from Joel Rosario?
No, listen, I do have some interest in that horse. I went back and kind of did a loop 2 or 3 times watching this horse. I can't wait for the text message right after this race going, what did Rosario do? Why was he doing that? Like, he should have been in person. Why did he pull him back? I know it's going to happen, and I can't wait. It's going to make my day when it happens. Look,
at least I'm getting 10-1.
You're getting 10-1, and I don't know what it is, but every once in a while, Chad Brown will put Rosario on a horse and they'll get along really well together. It doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen. And this horse does kind of have the look of one that we haven't seen its best race yet, right? And not that I think Joel Rosario is going to pull that out of her, but maybe, right? And you're right. The horse should get a great trip. Now, the problem, and you mentioned it, and you're not trying to beat Nitrogen. You're trying to get a horse in second at a good price. The problem is, like with Nitrogen, she's kind of like Mindframe in a way that we were talking about a little bit earlier, where it's like she'll just kind of sit right off and be fine. So you're not going to beat her like tripping out, basically. But could the 2 get second? Yes, I absolutely think that's a possibility.
Yeah, the tactical speed that we talk about with these horses that makes them so dangerous. Mindframe has it. Nitrogen has it. She can go to the lead. She can sit right off the lead. She can be way back if she needs to. She's able to win in a bunch of different manners, and that makes it hard for a horse like Opulent Restraint to take her gate to wire, because if it's a slow pace, guess who's going to be right behind? That'll be Nitrogen, and then the kick down the lane should be able to make the difference there. So Nitrogen on top here for both of us in this spot. Give me the 2, Opulent Restraint in second. Aaron taking the 6, Mayday Ready in second to try and spice it up with some exactas. Final race we're going to cover here, Aaron. Let's head over to Horseshoe, Indianapolis, and the Indiana Derby. This race is on Saturday. It's race number 12 on the card. They'll go 1 1/16 over the dirt course, our first of the Middle America Derbies. And I got to say, this is a very middle America Derby style of field. We've got Cole Battle, who is going to be in this race. We've got Publisher back, who has still yet to win a race, but yet here we are in another graded stakes. We've got horses like Chunk of Gold, which we all knew were kind of a cut below the Derby field. but fit very well in here at this grade 3 level for the Indiana Derby. Aaron, who do you like in this spot?
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely a feel of a middle American Derby for sure. I am excited about one horse, and well, I mean, look, a couple of these are okay, but I'm excited about one particular horse, the number 7 Big Truz. I am super pumped to see what this horse does stretching out for the first time. So if you remember, the horse breaks the maiden going 6.5 furlong really impressively at Keeneland. Okay, he lost his next 2 races. He lost an allowance race to Patch Adams, and he lost the Woody Stevens to Patch Adams going 6.5 and 7 furlongs. Patch Adams kind of was a name we laughed at during the Triple Crown Trail because he was going 2 turns and not having much success. They've cut him back, and he's been a star going 6.5 and 7 furlongs. Patch Adams got back to what he wanted to do, and now he's living up to that talent and that hype. Here's the deal, though. Okay, Big Truz has been beaten by him a couple times. However, Big Truz has a pedigree that says he needs to go longer, much longer. The horse is by Justify, a Triple Crown winner, out of a Curlin mare who was a Breeders' Cup Classic winner. This should be where we see him at his best. I don't know why they've sprinted him so long. I'm excited. It's a really good spot. I like the price. I'm all over number 7, Big Truz in this spot.
Yeah, this came down to 2 horses for me, and Big Truz was one of those 2 horses. I mean, we were all over Patch Adams throughout the entire process of sprinting, and Big Truz ran very good races behind Patch Adams, even with Joel Rosario on. And so now you get him off and you're stretching it out. He should handle the distance more, has early tactical speed, can make his own trip. I think all of those are positives. I'm going to go with the horse to his inside, though. Give me the number 6, Tip Top Thomas, to take this field gate to wire. There's some speed, but not a ton. I do think Tip Top Thomas is the fastest of the speed. But I just want to say, look who's riding. John Velazquez on a Saturday where Saratoga is running with graded stakes after graded stakes after graded stakes, is shipping to Indiana to ride a horse for Todd Pletcher. That just tells you how good this horse is, because Velazquez is passing up on hundreds of thousands of dollars in purse money to be able to ride this race in Indianapolis. I think you have to respect the number 6, Tip Top Thomas, who is the fastest horse in this field. Just one going gate to wire, going a mile. I think he stretches out to a 1:16 just fine. And John Velazquez flies from Saratoga to ride an Indiana Grand here on a Saturday when you've got major stakes races. That's the tip of the hat there. Give me number 6, Tip Top Thomas, 6-1. Did you consider this one at all?
I think it's a great pick, and I think you laid out a very good reason why, and that is Johnny Velazquez going up there to ride. He's not going up there wasting his time. If he's going, they at least think this horse is pretty good and got a shot to win the race. I like this horse. I've liked him for a while. My worry with the horse is I don't know about the 2 turns. I do think at 1 turn this horse could be pretty good. Going longer, I am a little bit questionable. Now, it's only a 1:16, and I say that because sometimes that a horse, if they excel at 6 or 7 furlongs, they can stretch out to a 1:16. It's just when they go longer where the problem is. I've got him in second. So we see a lot of these races the same, but we flipped kind of our picks in some of them, right? But I think he turns for home with the lead, and it's just I don't know that he'll be able to hold him off of that last 16th of a mile. Has to be worried. I like the talent level. I like that Velazquez is coming. We'll just see what happens that last 16th. We'll see if he can get the distance. That's the big question mark.
Yeah, I don't mind the 6-7 exacta box. If that's what people are looking for, I don't disagree with there, because I do think Big Truz has a big shot to run a very good race here. Let's talk about the 3 horses that went through the Triple Crown Trail, right? Publisher, Coal Battle, Chunk of Gold. Coal Battle and Chunk of Gold both able to get victories. Publisher still a maiden. Any interest in the 3 of these, or do you think these are horses that can run up into the trifecta, or are these horses you're willing to just leave off and let beat you?
I think Coal Battle is one that's kind of interesting. I think if you're going to go with one of them, Coal Battle's the one I would go with. I think the races he's been in lately, minus the Matt win, but talking about the Arkansas Derby and talking about the Kentucky Derby, they were too long for him. The Matt win, it was a weird race. It was a 4-horse field. There was no pace. They kind of just ran in a merry-go-round. So I'm not really worried about that one. If he can get back to the race that he ran in the Rebel Stakes back in February, which was the same distance as this one, I think he can beat this field. I didn't pick him on top, though, because I just kind of feel like he was kind of an early bloomer. He was taking advantage of the fields that just weren't very good, and he's kind of up against better, and they've kind of caught up to him a little bit. So I don't love him, but I wouldn't be shocked if he wins. I'll fall over if Publisher wins this race. I'll be completely honest. He's a maiden that's never been close. I can't do it. Not at 5-1. Certainly not. So I would be shocked if Publisher wins. Cold Battle, I wouldn't be shocked.
But he ran second behind Sandman, Aaron. Come on, it's Sandman. He ran second behind him. How can you not love him? Now, look, Publisher is 100% pace dependent. There's not enough pace for this to set up for him at a mile and a 16th. I think Chunk of Gold and Cold Battle are at least a little bit interesting. I'll put Chunk of Gold in that list as well. His early speed kind of gets lost in the fodder because he's running a bunch of races that they've gone 46, 110 type fractions. When it's a little bit slower, he actually can be a little closer to the pace, and I think that benefits him here as he drops down in competition. So I do think Chunk of Gold also in the conversation. I agree with you. I think Cold Battle of the three has the best chance to win, and a Cold Battle, a horse that I will be using in the tries. Look, this is one that just has been proven, should be forwardly placed, is a Johnny Tryhard style of horse that is going to be there at the end and give all his effort. So number 6, Tip Top Thomas for me, 6-1. The number 7, Big Truz for Aaron, 9-2. Ironically, we both picked these horses first and second, just in a different order here for the Indiana Derby. That'll happen on Saturday from Horseshoe, Indianapolis. I'm so used to calling it Indiana Grand. Race number 12 on Saturday's card there over at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. All right, Aaron, let's go to the part of the program where people are excited about the best bets. And if you want to place these bets, make sure you head over to firstbet.com. Are you ready to get in on the action? First Bet has you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every single day, right from your phone or computer, with all of the video feeds as well, so you can watch the horses that you bet. Just visit firstbet.com. That's the number 1, STBET.com, and use promo code VSiN200 to score a 20% rebate on all of your wagers, win or lose, for the first 60 days up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com, promo code VSiN200. And with that, Aaron, we are both going races on Friday and Saturday from Saratoga for our best bets here. Your race is earlier in the card on Friday, so I will let you kick off your Friday best bet. Who you got?
Well, you mentioned this horse a little bit earlier on in the show, and like, why is this horse not in the Belmont Derby? And that is Saratoga race 8, going to go number 4, Zulu Kingdom. He opts to run in a mile race instead of a mile and an eighth race. But look, I've been waiting, I don't know, how long's it been? Almost 2 months now to bet Zulu Kingdom back after I bet him on Kentucky Derby Day and he won the American Turf Stakes. If you remember, New Century, a horse I picked just a little bit earlier in the show to win the Belmont Derby, was third to Zulu Kingdom in that American Turf Stakes. So, look, I think it's a good spot for Zulu Kingdom. I think he's going to be very tough on this spot. I've liked him for a long time, ever since his debut last year. So, Saratoga on Friday, race 8, the number 4, Zulu Kingdom. Now, one more. Let's go Saturday at Saratoga, race 9 on the card. It's an allowance race, a state bred allowance race for the New York breds. I'm going to go the number 4, I'm Wide Awake, in this spot. Now, he was a very not wide awake horse for a lot of his career until he was claimed by trainer Norm Cassie 2 races back. And then all of a sudden this horse woke up. Last time out up here at Saratoga, got the job done by 5 lengths in a race very similar to this one, and now shows back up, second start for Norm Cassie. Look, it's very simple. If he can repeat the effort that he had last time out on this track, he's going to be very tough to beat. He does stretch out to 7 furlongs today instead of 6 furlongs. That is one change. But when you look at the pedigree, I think 7 furlongs should be fine for this horse. So give me the number 4, I'm Wide Awake. Saturday, Saratoga, race 9 is my second best bet of the day.
Yeah, the Friday race with Zulu Kingdom. Keep an eye on the number 6, Uncatalyzed. It's the other Chad Brown, the Chad Brown that's going to go to the front. You will see this at Saratoga. Respect the Chad Brown speed horse. If you can figure out who it is, because sometimes you can't figure out who it is, but it seems like whoever that is, they become a very dangerous horse. I like the 4-6 exacted there in the race of Friday, and I agree with you on the 4 horse there. I'm Wide Awake. Best bets for me, I'm going to go with the unconventional daily double here, Aaron. We're going to start out with race number 11 on Friday. This is the Harvey Pack Sprint Stakes, 5.5 furlongs over the turf course. Give me the number 2 horse, Our Shot, John Tuscanova, second off the layoff, and a big-time drop in class here. In the last 5 races, we've run in a grade 2, and a grade 1. The last time the Jaipur here at Saratoga, losing to AG Bullet on that day. Now you get second off a layoff, and a key for me, Rosario off, baby. We're switching from Saez to Rosario, and Saez has ridden this horse, Our Shot, 5 times in his career, 3 wins and 2 seconds in those 5 races. The 2 seconds were by a head and by a nose. Has run 5 times at Saratoga, 1 win, 2 seconds, and a third. And the price is right here. Friday race number 11, number 2, Our Shot, 10-1 on the morning line. And then let's go right into the Saturday card here, and let's go to the first race, 5.5 furlong maiden special weight. I love these races. A lot of people do not like betting these. I love betting them because I think they get misbet a lot of times. And I'm going to go to the number 6 horse, your second choice here, Bento Express. 5-2 on the morning line for Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz, and Rapoli Stables. We've talked about Japanese horses a lot on this show and how they're going to come over, and the breeding's been very good over there. Well, guess what? It's the first time I can remember a Japanese bred debuting at Saratoga. Defong here, the father, one of the horses that had went over to Japan and has really started to build up that Japanese talent over there. This is a very interesting horse. We've seen, obviously, the sire, very successful, 6-for-9, male sprinting champion, love the dirt. The Dam family has a ton of turf influence as well, but graded level talent up and down this entire horse's back class. And I'm getting the right price here. I'm getting 5-2 because the horse named Ewing by Knicks Go, phenomenal name, by the way, is going to be your morning line favorite and going to get bet here because of the sales price. But give me the number 6, Bento Express here, the daughter of Defong. Aaron, did you like the 6 at all, or am I getting a little crazier? Son of Defong, I'm sorry.
No, I think you're not getting crazy. That jumped out at me too, the Japanese breeding. I was like, that's really interesting. Because like you said, we see it sometimes with their horses that are, trained by Japanese trainers, but this one's trained by Todd Pletcher. So very interesting. No, I like that. I like also that you're taking a shot in the stakes race on Friday, the last one. That is such a tough race. And I have that horse in the top 4. Don't have him on top, but do have him in the top 4. So, no, I like them both. I will have the 6 on top in the first race Saturday. So we're in agreement there.
I love it. Little Bento Express, phenomenal name as well for a Japanese horse, considering it's a sprinter speed. It's all about the Bento Express there. And that's going to wrap it up here for VSiN At The Track. Want to give a shout out to our producer, Matt Deutsch, technical directors, Isaiah Rinkle and Andrew Ingold, and our audio operator, Ryan Hunter. Thank you very much for making this possible. You can find us every Thursday at VSiN Live over on YouTube. You can find us in the podcast world over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in its own feed. Just search VSiN At The Track and we will pop up right there. We'll keep you in the loop with all the horse racing news, all the big race breakdowns, as well as our best bets every single weekend leading up to the Breeders' Cup. For Aaron Halterman, I'm Mike Somich. Good luck this weekend at the track.